Good morning and greetings from soon-to-be sunny Alberta. It's been a hot minute, my friends. I think it's been 10 or 12 months. I took a break to start up the Out of Control Show podcast, and I believe we have between 20 and 30 episodes up on YouTube, Spotify, on Rumble. Heavily censored, of course, talking about all the things that they don't want us to talk about. But I thought it's been a while, and we should have a chat. I just wanted to touch base, and I hope this video finds you well, and you and your families are having an enjoyable summer. But I thought we should have another one of our walk through the trees and have a brief chat. So my friend and I, Rusty J, talked about all kinds of different topics on the Out of Control Show. On YouTube and Spotify, we're the Out of Control Show. On Rumble, we're OCS Canada. And heavily censored, like I said. We did a 3-hour viewer's choice liberal scandal marathon at Christmas. And we went through about 50 to 60% of the liberal scandals, and YouTube took it down, but it's still up on Rumble if you wanted to check it out. But I miss this too, just simply walking around and talking. You know, for many years, I've tried to talk to Canadians, and who am I, right? I don't expect people to listen to me, but I've tried, at least since 2016. So for at least 9-10 years, I've tried talking to folks, putting out the facts and the side of the news and statistics that they don't want you to see. And it hasn't worked. And I'm not the only one. There's thousands and thousands of Canadians doing the same thing and starting shows and trying to get people's attention. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work. It's been a crazy 2025. Every New Year's, you know, we always hope that the past is behind us and the new year brings new opportunity and hope and a fresh start. And it just seems that, unfortunately, every year is getting worse and worse. So sadly, I'm changing my perspective. And being out in Alberta, I am putting my efforts now towards Albertan independence. And it's tough because I'm torn. I'm really torn because I love Canada and I bleed maple syrup like a lot of you. But since the pandemic, and I just don't understand, after a terrible decade of the Liberals being in charge, that Eastern Canada once again mostly voted Liberal for more of the censorship, more of the taxes, more of the scandal and corruption, the doubling of our federal debt, and all the things we've talked about, and many Canadians have talked about. And I know now that there's nothing that most of us can do about it. A brief example is during the pandemic, when the various governments made half of Canada stay home because they were non-essential to society. And then what did the government do? They increased immigration to over 1 million people, saying that we had a shortage in the workforce. A shortage that they created. And now we're seeing just the first quarter of this year, they brought in like 800,000 people. So we're going to be over 1 million again. We have young people not being able to afford homes or get summer jobs. We see the cost of living going up everywhere for various reasons. Tariff and trade wars. And they don't seem to be fixing the problems. And it's sad. And like I said, I love Canada. I bleed maple syrup, but it's come to the point where I'm not giving up on Canada. Canada gave up on me. And a huge factor, and I hate to say it because I initially liked the guy, is Trump. I think at first I thought Trump was messing with Canada, and he was doing it because for years the Liberal government had insulted him, basically used him as his name as a political weapon against conservatives in Canada. And then Trump pretty much endorsed the Liberals and said he wanted Carney to win. And then that month during our election, all this tariff and trade war talk came in, which distracted a large portion of Canadians from the previous dark decade of Liberals and the damage caused to our country. And people have short attention spans, and they were distracted by elbows up, and they forgot. They forgot what got us to this position. So I've sadly come to the realization that Canada's lost. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but it's coming. The Canada that I grew up in, which was mostly peaceful. We mostly got along. We could have our differences of opinion and still agree to disagree. It's not like that anymore. So I am going to be putting, besides work and home and probably getting the podcast fired up again, I'm probably going to put 110% of my focus into Albertan independence and thusly survival for my loved ones. And I know it's a long, hard road, and it's not easy. It's easy to say words. It's not easy to hit the pavement and actually make things happen. But I do believe, with a potential referendum vote coming up, that us in Alberta have roughly 1 year to speak to each other. And I know that outside of large cities, the calls for independence are growing. Vast majorities of rural Alberta want out of what many consider to be an abusive relationship with Ottawa. And people can agree or disagree, but I mean, I live here. I've seen, and if you're watching this video, you probably pay attention to politics like I do. And, we've had hundreds of billions of dollars in canceled energy and natural resource projects. And thusly jobs, revenue for not only Alberta, but the entire country. Money from Alberta distributed via equalization payments has helped pay for parks and roads and schools and hospitals and social programs all across Canada for decades, like to the tune of like $700 billion just, in the last couple generations. And the people out here have just had enough, and I'm right there with them. Despite what anyone says, and again, I have no problem with anybody. I have no problem with any creed or color or religion of people. What I do have a problem with is governments knowingly flooding our country with people and harming the citizens who have been born and raised here and paid taxes their whole lives. Like, I'm sure some of you have heard that there are times where asylum seekers or illegal border crossers or refugees or however they are deemed to be are receiving upwards of, $80,000 a year in support, payments, healthcare. And these are people who have not contributed to our country whatsoever. Now compare that to a Canadian pensioner, a retired person, a person who's paid into the system and worked hard here and paid taxes their whole lives. What do they get a month? $1,200, $2,400? They probably get half of what someone who just showed up gets. And we've all seen the crazy spike in crime and violence as they ban legal firearms from people who don't usually commit crime. They don't ban firearms on statistics or actual crime. They ban it on feelings. Most crime in Canada, as you know, if you're watching this, is illegal handguns. So they ban rifles. Most robberies, most homicides, most assaults do not involve rifles. So we know that, they're showing us what's going on in the left hand while the right hand is doing something else. And I know that, I've thought long and hard about this. And I know that there's nothing that Canada could offer that would be better than Albertan independence. And I know it's going to be nasty. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. The attacks from central Canada, and by that I mean verbal, media, I don't mean physical, are going to get nastier and nastier as time goes on, because they are going to be afraid of losing one of their economic engines that helps fund the entire country. And they're like on our show, the Out of Control show, we're going to fire it up again here, but we're going to do a series about Albertan independence and try to explain to people the many angles of it, from decades to the National Energy Program with Trudeau Sr., to blocked energy projects and them taking money from Alberta while trying to stifle our ability to generate it. And people out here are angry, guys. People out here are angry. This isn't just like a clip on the news. Like, everybody's talking about this. And we have a year to convince people. I understand people are afraid of change. It's scary. The uncertainty. But I believe our families are worth the effort. So it is going to be a long, hard road. And God willing, we Albertans have the courage, the strength, and the intelligence to see this through. And to be actually free. And to have real protected human rights. Because we know since the pandemic that the Charter of Rights is not worth the paper it's written on. We do not have God-given rights in Canada. And I'm not a 51st state guy. I don't want American problems or debt or whatever. They're farther in debt than we are. But I know in my heart, and statistics and common sense tells me that a truly independent Alberta making new deals could be perhaps like the Dubai of North America. We have what we need here, and we can still have trading deals with everyone around us. And there's the common things like, well, Alberta will be landlocked. Well, we already are. Our own people shut us down. Our own country. And then I hear people talk about, well, the Indigenous folks will never agree. A lot of the regular Indigenous folks think just like I do. But their leadership like ours, is often corrupt. Why do you think these chiefs of these various bands and First Nations groups go on TV and oppose everything? Often they're paid to. But what if Alberta were to strike new deals? Deals with our Indigenous folks that are better than Ottawa, better than what the Crown can offer. What if the Indigenous folks in Alberta, if Alberta is able to become independent, what if those groups of people are the richest groups in the entire country because of new deals and revenues? So this is what I need people to understand, is this is not just comments online. This is not just a news story. We are highly motivated for protected human rights, to stop the abuse from Central and Eastern Canada, for our votes to not matter. You know, Western Canada has what? From Manitoba to BC, we have 24 senators, where Eastern Canada and just the Maritimes has 30. And the entire Maritimes is half the population of just Alberta. That's not including Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. We have taxation without representation amongst all these other problems. So I just need folks to understand that if you see Albertans trying to attain their freedom, trying to attain protected human rights, we are not traitors to Canada. We are not taking anything away. All we've ever done is give. And like I said earlier, I have not given up on Canada. I love Canada. But in many ways, Canada has given up on me and us in the West. And we have an entire year now to talk to each other. This is the way we're going to win. Not the media, not social media, not arguing online. It's Albertans hitting the pavement, talking to each other, and explaining our points of view, and putting people at ease with reasonable answers and solutions. I do not have all these answers and solutions. But if places with smaller populations like Ireland or other countries that are around 5, 6, 7 million people can survive and thrive, well, so can Alberta. And I'll end this on this. There's going to be a lot of hate, a lot of nastiness coming from Central Canada and their media. And you tell me in the next year, how many campaigns will there be to say, hey, Alberta, stay? Thank you. No one's here is asking for anyone to bow down on their knees and to thank us for everything. But you tell me, is it going to be a year of, come on, Alberta, stay together. We're all one team. We love you. Thank you for the hundreds of billions of dollars. And having a place in Canada where anybody can come to, work hard, and have a good life. And even without a high school education, have a good living and provide a good life for your family. Are we going to have a campaign like that? Or are we going to have a campaign of everyone jumping on and attacking Alberta in a nasty way? I think you and I both already know the answer. So, it's been a hot minute, and I missed you guys. And if you have the time, maybe check out the Out of Control show on various platforms. And I'll do this again, but I just wanted to say hello and just be safe out there. And if you see things getting a little froggy out in Alberta, it's because we're ready to jump. Have a good day. Take care.